2016, I think you started for the Hurricanes. Is that right, in the Big Bash League? Early on in your career, how did you go in the BBL?
Pretty well. I think I was young then too, so like it was just more about going out and having fun and not caring about what happened, which I think that's how every young player should be able to play their cricket, or even older. Having a kid just brings in perspective. Like, I could go out and have the worst day of cricket, but you come home to your young kid and they're happy and they don't care what you've done during the day. They're just happy to see dad and play with dad for the next couple of hours before they have to go to bed. I was going to have to move from Darwin to be able to pursue my career in cricket. I think it's just one of those things, it's inevitable that if you want to make it, then you're going to have to go.
Darcy Short, thanks for joining us on the NextGenNorth podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What brings you up to the Territory?
Up here playing cricket, just using it as a pre-season games to get ready for the season coming up in WA and obviously for Big Bash.
Great. Do you get much time to come back north? Because you're a Territory boy, aren't you?
Yeah, very rarely get to come back. Probably the last couple of years has been a bit more of me coming back due to trying to play some games up here and help out as much as possible. Trying to give back to, I guess, where I grew up playing cricket. Yep.
Can you tell us a bit about the what is it called? The Top End T20 series? Is that what it's?
Yeah. So it's Top End T20 series. There's a lot of teams up here that when I first said yes to Gav that have joined in. So there's a few Big Bash teams like Strikers, Stars and Renegades that have come up. ACT have got a team in, and then obviously you got NT Strike.
Yep.
Scorchers is here. And then you've got Bangladesh and Pakistan, who I think have been here for a little bit now as well. So there's some good competition up here, and I guess it's just about trying to grow the game in NT.
Yeah, awesome. Who's some of the marquee players in your mind, or the ones to watch, or that have even, because the series has already started, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Who are the guys that are going well, and who are the ones you think are going to be the ones to watch going forward?
Oh, I think they've all got kind of young teams as well. So it's nice to have guys like Jai Richardson up here, who's played obviously cricket for Australia in all formats, and he's up here using this as prep as well, and obviously trying to get himself ready to go.
Yep.
Then you got the likes of Josh Brown, who's been up here for the Renegades, and obviously Will Sutherland, and then Hilton Cartwright and Scott Boland here for Stars. So there's a lot of talent up here, and obviously mixed in with some young guys.
So you're with Adelaide at the moment, is that right?
Adelaide for the BBL, yeah.
Yeah, for the BBL. And so what happens with this sort of series? Do they give you a bit of leave or something to play for the Territory side, or how does that work?
No, so like it is, I think it's more of a development side of things.
Sure.
So, I was in touch with, or Gav Dovey called me probably in April to have a chat about it, and kind of just went from there. I said I'd be available if I didn't have anything overseas, and I was fit and ready to go. So I think it's just about trying to make NT strong team to I guess go against the other guys, and it's more just about development for the NT kids that are coming through.
Yeah, because there's some young guys, like you say. There's I think, what can you tell us about someone like a Tom Menzies who's sort of burgeoning and doing big things as a really young bloke?
Yeah, so I played here 2 years ago when he was first coming through, and there was a lot of rap around him, and he's gotten better again in the last couple of years, and I think he's someone who can go to the next step if he wants to do it and works hard. So I just really impressed with the way the boys have gone about it in terms of preparation and sticking in with games. Like, obviously yesterday we didn't have a great game. We got bowled out for 110, but the boys in the field fought hard, and we were in it probably to the 14th over until a little bit of panic set in. But the boys they're stuck at it the whole way.
They'll learn. Yeah. So in terms of I just had a bit of a brain fade there. So what about yourself, mate? Your own form. So you smash an 80-odd, was it, the first game? So that must have been a good one to get under the belt. How did that feel?
Yeah, it's always nice to, I guess, know that the work you've done in the last couple of months is paid off.
Yep.
Obviously, it's still early in the season, but It's nice to feel like you're hitting the ball well.
Yep.
Granted, I train with the Scorchers or the WA boys a lot,
Yeah.
so kind of know them a little bit better. But no, it's always nice to get off to a good start and I guess just contribute to NT cricket having a win.
Yep. And what about those left armers, mate? How are they going? Getting a few poles or?
Yeah, they're coming out. Probably bowl a bit more towards the end of the series, but
Yep.
where the wickets get a bit more tired. But yeah, definitely keep working on them, and yeah, happy to bowl whenever I'm needed.
So what about the decks up here? How do they sort of differ to the the eastern seaboard or even places like WA that are probably a bit harder? What are the Darwin sort of characteristics?
Yeah, look, I guess they're not too much different, but I think it's just more that they can be a good batting wicket, and then obviously once they get tired, they're like anywhere else. I guess they get a bit more spin, a bit lower, and yeah, you got to work on that side of the game a bit more. So I think you'll see that spinners come into the game a lot more towards the end of this series, and yeah, when I was growing up here, they were always good batting decks.
Yep.
So yeah, you can't fault that at all. That's why I always love coming back and playing.
Yeah, and where are the main grounds? Have they been playing much at TIO?
There's a few games at TIO, yeah.
Yep.
And then obviously DXC Arena
Yep.
are the two main ones, but we played a game out at Fred's Pass on Sunday.
Oh, yeah?
There's games at Kazali's and also at Gardens as well.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah, they're all over the place, but yeah, it's just great to have games played around. I think those grounds are the ones that are probably the better ones to show off in NT.
Yep, and is it good just, getting in front of a home crowd again, like a real home crowd?
Yeah. It's obviously nice to have, I guess, people that you've grown up with come and watch you play and catch up with them, and probably people I haven't seen for 15, 20 years. It's good to come back and know that I guess these people are still here and they haven't really changed.
Yeah, Darwin's always going to be here, and it takes a little bit of time to get moving. But anyway, in terms of your own sort of personal story, you're a Territory boy, as I mentioned before, but you actually grew up or born in Katherine, is that right?
Yeah. Born in Katherine. Don't really remember much of there, but just knew that we lived up on a hill.
Yep.
And then moved to Darwin when I was 4.
Yep.
And then was there until I was 19, and then moved to Perth permanently.
So how did Darwin sort of shape your own cricketing journey? Like, what was the standard like? How was the development pathway to becoming a professional? What sort of journey was that like for you?
Well, I was pretty lucky because we had the NTIS when I was growing up. So we were training 4 times a week. And I was probably in that from the age of 15, 16.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of always knew that I was going to have to move from Darwin to be able to pursue my career in cricket or have a career in cricket. I think it's just one of those things, it's inevitable that if you want to make it, then you're going to have to go.
Sure.
It's probably like any sport really that you play up here. Eventually you're going to have to move unless a team gets made here. But that was the thing that I had in my head from probably a young age, is if I wanted to make it, then I'm going to have to move down south to another state.
Yep. So is that what the Territory is going to need then to, I guess, foster young talent? Is it we need our own sort of first-class team, or is before we sort of lose players to the other states? And then in your mind, if that's to happen, what's the horizon on that? Is that 20 years, 50 years? How does that work in your mind?
Yeah, well, it's the only way you're going to keep good players around. Obviously, you can play junior cricket here as long as you want, but if you want to make it in cricket, you're either going to be poached by another state down south to come and play because they've got a state team, and
yep.
I think that's just the way it's going to be. Obviously, hard with seasons being opposite, so obviously NT cricket or Darwin cricket aligns with UK cricket, so it's a bit different where it's all raining down south.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard, I think, but I don't know, it could be 20 years in the future where you see it change a little bit.
Yep.
Obviously, we fly around everywhere, so there might be something that works out that way, but it could be a while.
Yep. So in terms of your own personal journey, how did you get started in cricket? You know, what was your junior club you played for, and you know what sort of inspired you to get started? Was it your parents or your family or
Yeah,
what?
so my family is pretty sporting background family. My grandpa played cricket. Forever played in Sydney for Sydney Uni for a while,
Yep.
and it's got a oval named after him in Katherine, and when he used to be the doctor there and that. So, uncle played cricket. My dad played cricket. Dad played baseball as well, so I was playing both of them when I was growing up. It was just I was into sport basically. So,
Yeah.
probably got a little bit fast tracked when mum and dad decided to buy an indoor centre in Palmerston, and I was playing every sport that I could for 6 or 7 years in there,
Yep.
Monday through to Thursday. So, it was just sports for me, to be honest.
Yep. So with the indoor centre, was that mainly playing indoor cricket, and how did that sort of shape your game?
I wouldn't really say it shaped my game. I think it was just more repetition of hitting balls and playing against men when I was 13, 14.
Yep.
Helped me out a little bit. I didn't change in terms of trying to play indoor cricket. I was still trying to play outdoor cricket.
Yeah,
shots and it's just probably more the part of playing with older people that I guess probably helped me out a little bit.
Yep, just fast tracked you a bit.
Yeah.
Because I actually remember playing, I think it was just a bit of a scratch match. This must have been 20 plus years ago against you. And I remember, I think the coach was saying, because I think you're a few years younger than me, maybe 2 or 3 years younger than me. This Darcy kid, he's got talent. And I remember you were pretty flashy outside off stump. You're a bit bottom hand heavy.
Yep.
Is that still yeah? Yeah. Is that sort of is that your approach still to this day, to really sort of anything wide, just dispatch it, or what's your approach that you take into games?
I've probably calmed down a little bit now.
As you've matured?
Especially in red ball cricket, I've probably calmed down a little bit.
Right.
But, I've always liked to hit the ball, and I guess it comes back to entertaining now because of Big Bash and trying to bring in the crowds and excite fans. That's I guess why we play the game, to try and I guess get excitement and get fans into games now. So,
Put on a show.
Yeah.
So do you think the advent of the shorter form game has really helped your career?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm probably more suited to that side of things.
Yep.
And that's the way it's going. Obviously, I still love playing red ball cricket. Played a few games last year and really enjoyed it. So still trying to do both. But obviously, white ball cricket is probably more my format.
Yeah. So with how fast paced the 2020 game is, what are the sort of main elements that you focus on in the short game? Like for the strike, I guess, what's the sort of main strategy you guys are, without giving away any secrets or anything like that? What are the sort of main strategies you guys, as a younger team as well, are taking into the games?
It's all about development for the younger kids, really. But it's more having fun and committing to what you do.
Yep.
If you're showing intent in the field or with the bat, we're not going to get in trouble for it, or you're not going to get blasted for it. It's about, I guess, showing the way you play your game, and if you stick to that, then fine. If you get out doing it or mis-execute, then that's okay. Just try and do it again next time.
Let's have a go. So are you a bit of a mentor in that sense, or imparting some sort of coaching wisdom to the younger guys as well?
Yeah, try to be. I guess just be open to being approached and having a chat with the younger guys, and obviously trying to get the way I did it out there. And obviously it's not going to work for everyone, but just give them a bit of advice that I've learnt on the way to I guess try and get them to the next level.
Yep. And with the first class stuff, so you made your debut for WA, is that right? In about 2016, I believe, something like that?
Yeah, for red ball cricket.
Yep. And what was the sort of main motivation to go to WA? Was it just an opportunity, or did you like the climate down there, the batting decks? What was the motivation?
It was more that I got the opportunity to play a second 11 game. So they asked me if I wanted to play in a second 11 game, and did that. It was against ACT.
Okay.
Actually, Nathan Lyon was playing for ACT at that time.
There you go.
That's how long ago it was. And then, yeah, it just went from there. I got obviously scored some runs in that, and they offered me a scholarship from there for a couple of years. And then, yeah, that was my ticket in, I guess, to try and go over there.
Yep.
Didn't work out the way I'd like it, though, because obviously I got that scholarship when I was 20, 21, and debuted for WA in 2011, 2012 in a one-day game, and then kind of just fell off the face of the earth. And yeah, was pretty close to not even bothering about trying to play cricket after that, because it was probably 3 or 4 years where didn't really have any contact with WA, and I was just playing club cricket over there. And went to an Indigenous national Indigenous camp in Queensland.
Yep.
And played against Australia A, Brisbane, and then teams like that, and did pretty well. And Greg Shippard had a chat to JL, and kind of all got fast-tracked from there, basically.
Yep. So I'd like to get back to the Indigenous game in a second, because I understand you've got some Indigenous heritage too, is that right? But just if we could stay on you almost walking away from the game. So what happened in your mind then that made you want to keep going? What turned around in terms of your form, things like that? What was the motivation to just keep on cracking in?
I guess I just proved to myself that I was good enough to play at that level. Like, I did pretty well against those sides that had decent players playing for them, and it was just more the self-belief that I know I can do it, and obviously the motivation to have a meeting with Justin Langer to see what he said and told me what I needed to do to, I guess, before they'd even think about picking me, was enough to get me going. And I kind of knew deep down that I wasn't done. I just probably lost my way a little bit for a couple of years. So
did you have any idea about, if you had quit the game, what you would do? Were you that sort of far along in your thought process?
No, I was a personal trainer at that time, so I'd probably just still be doing that, to be honest.
Yep.
Pretty happy that I kind of went through with it.
Yep. And so 2016, I think you started for the Hurricanes. Is that right, in the Big Bash League? Yep. Talk us through that. Early on in your career, how did you go in the BBL?
Pretty well. I think I was young then too, so like it was just more about going out and having fun and not caring about what happened, which I think that's how every young player should be able to play their cricket, or even older. Just being able to go out there and have fun is the main thing, and that's what I was doing, and it worked out for me.
So is that sort of, like you said before, some of the wisdom you've been trying to impart on the younger guys, is just to really go out and enjoy the game, let it come to you a bit more instead of forcing things, which I know particularly for a batsman you can do? Yeah,
I think it's just more that you don't know that sometimes there's going to be a lean run in terms of not being able to score runs, or feeling like it's never going to come, but you do come out the other side of it. It's just about trying to be as level-headed as possible going into each game, and I guess when you're on, making sure that you make the most of it.
Yeah. And in, I think, 17, 18, you sort of broke out, you could say. You smashed, a heap of runs. I think you got named player of the tournament. How did that change your career? You must have been pretty happy that you'd stuck with it after those, few years of doubt. How did that sort of change things for you?
It was great. Like, I felt like it was myself on top of the world. I got opportunities from there that I didn't think I was going to get 3 or 4 years beforehand. So, I was just enjoying every minute of it. And what was I thinking? I just was just having fun, enjoying what I was doing, and trying to make the most of it.
Because that really sort of opened doors for you, didn't it, in terms of, you got picked up by was it the Rajasthan Royals?
Yeah.
Like, what was that like playing on the subcontinent? That must have been a whole different thing.
Yeah, that was definitely eye-opening. And I never thought that I'd get pressure from I guess, the money you earned
Right.
playing in that sort of type of stuff. And
Because there's a real sort of expectation, isn't there, that like we're paying you this money, you got to
so
perform.
It was kind of my first, or was definitely my first time of being a overseas player coming in, or an overseas pro coming into a franchise. And I just didn't realize the pressure that was going to be put on when I first got over there. And well, to be honest, I didn't think I was going to be playing to start with, because we had Steve Smith over there, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, Josh Butler. So like I was
Just guns.
yeah, I just didn't think that I was going to be starting to start with. And then it's probably a week out, they were like, yeah, you're going to be playing first game. I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
And then obviously there was a bit of trouble before I got over there. I had to get a visa on my passport and get a visa done and whatnot. And passport was lost in the mail coming back, so I didn't get to go over there when I first was meant to go there. And,
right. Acclimatise and that sort of stuff.
A bit of a muck around to start with, but I definitely enjoyed my experience over there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back, and would love to go back again and obviously try and redeem myself a little bit. But we'll see if that happens or not.
So how did you sort of cope with, the pressure of, I guess, the fans? Because cricket is a religion over there. It's Aussies are a little bit more laid back. Obviously, we're still passionate about our sport, but it doesn't seem like it's as much of a religion as it is in India. How do you sort of cope with that? Was there a lot of fanfare, and what was that like?
Yeah, it was full on. I guess it's just something that they get to do. Like, I've walked through a few places there, like the slums and that, and done a tour and whatnot. And you have a family of 5 living in like a shoebox like this, but they've managed to wire in Foxtel or stuff like that to be able to watch their cricket.
Right.
And that's like something that they want to be able to watch. And if nothing else, if they've got cricket, then they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just, that's their release. That's their way of, I guess, finding enjoyment in their life and going it that way. So, it's a big eye opener to go over there and see what, how they live and whatnot. And they're not harmful or anything. They're just excited to be able to watch cricket and see their favourite players play. So, I can't blame them for that. It's great to see, and it's always fun to play in front of. Some of the crowds you get over there, especially in some of the stadiums where it's packed out. It's so loud you can't even hear yourself think half the time in the middle.
Yeah. Well, it must have given you some perspective as well, and really appreciate how lucky we are in Australia, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I guess, another way of seeing the world, obviously. Like, we couldn't really go out. We had to stay in the hotels and whatnot. If we did go out, we had to take security with us. And I remember we went to a shopping centre. Obviously walked into a shop. I think it was either Apple or one of the Adidas stores that we walked into. It was all glass on the outside. They locked the door. We were the only ones in there. And then within 10 minutes, there was people everywhere around the shops. Not to see me, obviously, but like there was Ben Stokes in there. We had Josh Butler and Jofra Archer, and like security guards said it's time to go, and we were only in the shopping centre for 10 minutes before we had 100, 200 people standing around the shop. So, it puts it in perspective of how much they love their cricket, and it's definitely more of from us, it looks like more of a religion than just playing a sport.
And how did you navigate things like food, because there's talk always made about dodgy vindaloos and all that sort of stuff. How do you sort of manage your diet over there, making sure the water you've got safe to drink, all that sort of stuff? How does that sort of, the logistical side of thing, how does that go?
Yeah, I got sick a few times over there.
Oh, no.
But I guess it's just part of the learning curve, isn't it, really? Like, you're probably safer eating the food that they cook all the time than trying to get them to cook you like Australian food. Something a bit different that they normally wouldn't cook.
Okay.
Obviously, you need to ask to try and get it mild down a bit more because they're mild, still hot.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
is there protocols that the team sort of sets out, like, hey guys, try not to do this or do this, and this will be a bit safer if you sort of eat these things? Or
Yeah, so I guess it's different in terms of IPL teams that have like bottled water and that. You got a team room or whatnot, you can go get your bottled water and that, and that's pretty easy to keep sane. And obviously, when you're sharing that, not drink the water. But most 5-star hotels over there, they're pretty well okay to go into anyway. So, and obviously different if you travel with the Aussie team, you've got a chef that comes with you as well, so it makes it a bit easier, that side of things. But everything's always put there for you in terms of having bottled water and whatnot and stuff like that. So there's people there to help you out as you go. But sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes it's your time to go down, I guess.
Yeah. And in terms of playing conditions, how did you find that? What were the pitches like? How did the weather sort of affect play and the strategy and the decisions that teams were making going into games? Like, particularly maybe the pitches. How did you find the decks over there?
Yeah, it took me a little bit to get used to, obviously, because they're a bit lower and obviously turn more than they do back home. So it took me a little bit of time to get used to, which was probably a little bit frustrating, but I definitely enjoyed it and learnt a lot from it.
Yep.
But yeah, that was probably the main thing. And you just sweat so much. It's a bit like being in Darwin sometimes in the build-up, I guess.
Well, I was going to ask, did growing up in Katherine, to a lesser extent in Darwin, did that sort of help you acclimatise maybe a bit better than, like I say, a Ben Stokes coming from England?
I guess it just means that you're used to it, aren't you? You just know what it's going to be like and what you kind of have to do to, I guess, keep yourself hydrated and get through it.
Yep. And you played a bit of cricket in the UK as well. So again, similar sort of thing. Like, was there a bit of a culture shock in terms of, I've heard the balls sort of hoop around a bit more. Maybe the pitches are a bit greener over there. What are your own personal experiences of playing in in England and other locations?
Well, I only went over there to play white ball cricket, so they tried to make the wickets flat, and the ball didn't swing as much as a red ball does. So
yep.
No, I really enjoyed time over in England. It's always a place I love to go back to.
Yep.
I enjoy the banter of the fans and their wit. It's just like it's great to be able to play in front of crowds like that and know that they're having fun and enjoying it as well. But they're not too dissimilar to us. I think they love their banter and it's always good to go over there and play.
Yeah, and you've thrown on the Aussie jersey a few times in the T20s and the one days. Is that sort of the ultimate honour in your mind, is playing for your country, or how do you view playing for Australia?
I guess it's a dream of every young kid, isn't it, to play for Australia and wear the colours of your nation.
Yep.
I played more games than I thought I was going to, and it's still something that I probably want to try and get back to in terms of having that opportunity to play. So hopefully, if I do well enough to get that opportunity, then I can do it again. And
you mentioned before the Indigenous component of cricket, and I mentioned before that you do have some Indigenous heritage in you. I've heard Dizzy Gillespie comment on the state of the Indigenous game at the moment, saying it's not in really good shape. We don't have a lot of participation and things like that. How did the Impaja Cup, for example, sort of help your career? I think you mentioned it earlier. How did that contribute? Because I know that I think the territory didn't actually provide a team for the most recent Impaja Cup.
Yeah.
So what's your view on things and
at the
moment?
Well, I explain it as it's hard to get equipment into communities.
Right.
Like young Indigenous kids can use an empty Coke bottle as a football.
Yep.
And that's their football. It's hard to find anything that resembles a cricket bat or a cricket ball. Like, you can't use a rock. If it hits somebody, then it's just not going to work.
Yep.
That's the hard part. But if you can get, I guess you can get equipment into communities and they can use it.
Yep.
They love it.
Mm.
Every Indigenous community I've been to, you take cricket bats, cricket balls, stumps. like they pick it up. Their naturals of throwing a ball, the naturals of doing anything to do with a ball. Like it's crazy to see. Obviously, they still have a bit of football in the way they do things. Like everyone's trying to take the catch. It's not just one person. They're trying to market it on top of each other. But like they're enjoying themselves and they love it. And it's just trying to get it out to the communities. And obviously, it's hard when you probably don't have as many development officers working for NT Cricket to be able to have one here and one go out to communities and do it that way. So it's just trying to get it out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
The Impaja Cup obviously helped me a lot to get to where I am because I was on a national Indigenous tour from that. So I got to go to England with that for 5 or 6 weeks to like recreate what the first Indigenous team did that went over there. Like
that's right. 1868.
Yeah. So like I got to be able to do that, and that was great to be able to be involved in and go over there for the first time. So it's just I don't have an answer for trying to get it out there, but we need to try and get it out to communities and build it up and I guess trying to pay the pathway for them to come through and play cricket.
Yeah, well, it does sound like you sort of have some idea. I think funding obviously helps. And I think, the AFL, for example, there's so much money in AFL that they can spend a lot of money at the grassroots level up in the territory and really sort of try and develop, regional, rural, Indigenous communities. But I'm just not sure if there's as much money in cricket as there is for games like AFL. So, it would be good to see more money spent on, countryside cricket to really develop the game because, like you said, the strong history or Indigenous history in cricket in Australia, like you said, the 1868 first tour. I remember hearing that Don Bradman said that I think it's a fellow by the name of Eddie Gilbert was the fastest bowler he ever faced anywhere, and that included the West Indies sides, those English sides. So it's something that we need to focus on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, see the AFL, they have games of footy up here all the time. Like it's obviously different because it's easier and they play more games in Australia to be able to get more games up here. But I think NT Cricket are obviously trying to rally to get test matches up here and one day games up here with Australia playing. So that's obviously going to bring more money into NT Cricket side of things, and hopefully that paves the way to be able to make a pathway for Indigenous kids to play cricket, or kids in general, to be honest. It's just trying to get grassroots cricket up and running and making sure it's healthy in NT.
And is a way of doing that, I mean, I'm not sure if you're across the NBL. In Darwin, they've got an NBL 1 side, the Salties, which is sort of like a second division. I think it's called Div 1, but it's really the second division from the Premier League up here. And I think with the hope of eventually establishing a national side in Darwin, is that sort of maybe the pathway you think something like the BBL could do, is maybe establishing a sort of a second 11, whether it be in Alice Springs due to weather conditions or something like that, at least to maybe provide a bit more of a pathway for young territory cricketers?
Yeah. Obviously, like we spoke about before, it's hard to have a team in because of obviously opposite seasons and weather and that up here the time we're playing down south. So it'll take work, but obviously having people or having Alice Springs there as well to be able to, I guess, use that might be an option as well. So I think you're definitely done in terms of having a second 11 team in to play games and get the opportunity to, I guess, be exposed to what other states are like.
Yep. And in terms of just, I guess, sort of, you being 34, you're not a 22-year-old anymore. Like, what are some of the more memorable moments of your career so far? What have you sort of looked back at fondly as being, I feel pretty proud to have accomplished that and those type of things?
Obviously making my debut for Australia is something that I'm pretty proud of and will always hold close to my heart. But I guess more just the other thing is seeing how proud my parents are, and they always believe in what I was doing, and family's massive for me. So I think them helping me get to where I am, and obviously my partner now is like my rock, and having her at home looking after our young kid. And
Oh, you got a kid?
Yeah.
How old's your kid, if you don't mind?
She's 17 months old.
Oh, mate, that's almost identical to mine.
Yeah.
I got a 16-month-old, so congratulations.
Yeah, it's definitely an eye-opener. Changes things around the house. Obviously racing after her when I'm home from training and that. So I think those are things that I'm more proud of.
Yep.
Obviously, great for the career I've had, but raising my own family and just being a family man, I think is what I'm more proud of, and will hold close to my heart.
Has it changed the way you've approached games, or maybe your maturity levels? You sort of have to think about someone else now instead of just yourself.
Yeah, I like to think I was pretty mature beforehand.
Okay, all right.
But I think having a kid just brings in perspective. Like, I could go out and have the worst day of cricket, but you come home to your young kid and they're happy and they don't care what you've done during the day. They're just happy to see dad and play with dad for the next couple of hours before they have to go to bed. And I think that puts things in perspective for me that cricket or sport in general is not the be-all and end-all. Like, you might think it is when you're younger, but when you get older, you realise that it's actually not. It's just part of life. And the bigger picture is when you're home with your family.
Here. In terms of who are some of the best players you've played with or against, you mentioned Ben Stokes. I know you've made some crazy partnerships with Finchy. Who are the sort of best players you played with or against over the course of your career?
I think you just named it. I think David Warner, opening batting the first time with David Warner, playing with Aaron Finch, being in that highest partnership in Zimbabwe where I scored 43 and he scored 170 odd or something of what it was. But it's just those kind of things that they keep you going. Obviously playing against England, it's hard to. They're all great players. Like, they're all there for a reason. So it's always good to be able to step out and play against those guys.
Yeah. Next game, got the Renegades.
Yep.
How are they looking, and how are you guys, shaping up against them in terms of your matchups and that sort of thing?
Yeah, they look pretty good. They're a pretty strong side. So I think it's going to be a good game. They beat Pakistan in their last game, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I think we're ready to go. So obviously we had a blip yesterday in terms of not scoring many runs, but the boys will bounce back and hopefully show some fight today and get a win on the board.
And in terms of the cricketers that are following in your footsteps, young Territorians that are looking to go out there and have a go with the battle ball, what are your sort of main advice to them, in terms of being a territory cricketer and, maybe trying to fast track their development and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think working hard's the main thing. Obviously, coming from NT cricket, or when I was younger, I felt like I was probably one of the better ones, and everything just fell in line for me in terms of playing NT cricket and playing all the games here.
Yep.
I just thought that might keep happening when I went to WA, and obviously learnt the hard way that it doesn't. So it's just working hard and making sure that you're always putting in the work to be better. But my main thing is to make sure you're enjoying it and have fun, because if you're doing that, then 9 times out of 10, I think you're gonna do well.
And in terms of the pathway to get to professional cricket, is it better in your mind now in the territory than it was, say, when you were younger? You talked about the NTIS and those type of institutions. Are we doing things better now than in those days, and could we be doing more?
NTIS was something that was great for me and the guys that are around. Like, we had Kane Richardson was in that group. Jake Weatherald was in that stuff as well, that got us to the next level. So
yeah,
I think if that can potentially come back to help these younger guys go through. Obviously, there's going to be teams that they're playing games against Pakistan and whatnot on that, but something that they can train with all year round and not just in club cricket. So they're training with the better players in NT to have them and have coaches around them. I guess will be a helpful thing, but in terms of that stuff, I'm unsure if that's still going in NT. I haven't really heard of the NTIS for cricket, or in NT sport in general at the moment. So it's just trying to make sure that get the opportunity to train as much as they can while they're here before obviously they have to make that move.
Well, it's good to see you back, mate, in Darwin and back in the territory and supporting NT cricket. We really appreciate it. And, appreciate you taking the time to come and have a chat with us today. And Darcy, mate, just want to say best of luck with the rest of the series and all things BBL and, at the top level. So thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, guys. See you, everyone. Cheers.